This is the Scorer to Follow podcast.
It's the Scorer to Follow podcast. We are back. I'm your host, Neil Mundy. Opposite me is Dan Laundy.
Hello.
And to my right, Mark Annals.
Hello.
How are we doing, chaps? All right?
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'd imagine it's quite a national disappointment that we've bothered to return.
Yeah, unfortunately, they can't get rid of us. We cannot be stopped. So yeah, we're gonna talk about in this international break. It's a quiet Sunday, Remembrance Sunday, in fact. But we're just going to talk about football for an hour, like we did before. So we've got we're going to talk about the situation at the top, the Ev. Talk about West Ham and Brighton a bit, and some of the other clubs who are of interest at the moment, I would say. But before all that, gents, I'm going to open up with an opening question, simply because for some reason I've been listening to sporting TV themes all week. What's your favourite sporting TV theme? And Mark, I'm going to go to you.
Well, I'm going to say straight away, Ski Sunday.
Ski Sunday. It's a solid shout.
For anyone that doesn't know the Ski Sunday theme, do you want to give us a quick snippet?
No, because I do know how it goes, but I think if I try to do it, it wouldn't come out right.
Wouldn't do it justice.
No,
And if we played it on a phone, it would sound tinny.
Yeah.
I think the thing with the
Investigate yourself, listeners.
Ski Sunday, somebody else floated Ski Sunday to me. I like it. I think it's a bit showy-offy. If that would be my one criticism. It's a little bit over the top. That would be my only criticism. But it's strong.
It's in my, like I said, it's in my head now, but I think if I try to do it, it will all come out wrong. So,
Dan.
For me, it's the theme tune for Wimbledon on the BBC.
Is that the old school theme tune, or is that the BBC tennis? Because there's is it that one? Ah, okay.
I love that one.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
That's a strong.
Especially in the middle of the summer, you know, you sat there, tennis comes on. Probably sacrilege to talk about that on a football pod, but
I don't think it's sacrilege at all.
we're just talking about
tennis
skiing.
away.
Skiing,
Yeah,
tennis.
But I have noticed with both our choices, both of the choices so far are very middle class. Skiing and tennis, and I'm going to compound that by mine. Mine is the golf. So I'm not a huge golf fan, but
you like the theme music.
It's good. It's very good. Snooker's a strong second, but it conjures up images of dusky rooms and David Vine presenting
this
the massive
podcast is suddenly for middle-aged conservatives. That's never the intention.
Yes, let's talk about Boris Johnson's week.
I'd rather he'd probably rather we wouldn't. So
I'd rather we wouldn't.
I get myself into court. I'm going to give it a miss.
Court or courts?
I really hope to see you all in court.
That's an amazing reference. Look it up, kids. 90s furniture store department. Sadly no longer with us, along with Do It All and various others.
But the guy from that advert, little tributes of trivia, he played the guy in Ownfuls and Horses who ran the Groovy Gang.
Really?
You remember when Rodney was in Groovy Gang?
Yeah.
There was an old...
I do remember the Groovy Gang, yeah.
I think he's the same guy that was in the Courts advert.
Oh, we need confirmation on this. Can you look it up? By the
I'll
end
do
of
it
the
now.
show?
You keep talking amongst yourselves.
This is important. It's much more important than talking about football. Let's move on to talking about the football before we sidetracked by more 90s concerns. Dan Laundy's furiously tapping at his phone, so Mark, we'll talk amongst ourselves for a minute. Situation at the top is obviously Manchester City are now 8 points clear after the last weekend. It's going to become a bit interesting in this next stretch of games. I think that's going to decide whether or not they're going to run away with it or not. There's shades of the most recent comparison I've used is Chelsea 05-06, where there's Chelsea 05-06 around Christmas, Boxing Day, sat on 20, played 1-18, drawn 1, lost 1. That could happen, but there is also such a packed schedule at the moment. You've got 11 games between now and Boxing Day that they could get drawn back into the pack. What's your feelings?
Well, yeah, it could easily happen. I think there's also more of a shade of Barcelona about them, not just because of the Guardiola
the
reference, but the case that it seems to be at the moment they can concede goals as long as they score more, which they have been doing. Obviously, they're not watertight at the back by all means, but going forward, they're always going to score goals. But I think it's going to be interesting when, like I say, they've got a few games. They've got quite a few games in a short period of time, and it'd be interesting, like in that run, if they come up with any teams that are just going to basically sit back and defend, and play on the break. Are City going to be able to score more goals? Because also, like I say, they're always going to concede. But if they're against a team that are going to set up like that, are they going to be in the same run of form with scoring all these goals?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point. I mean, they've done quite well up against what you would call sort of the park bus teams to this point. They went away at West Brom one, didn't they, recently? And there's other games where they've just hammered teams you would think would turn up, sit back and hope for the best. So far their track record is good, but you're playing 2 games a week. We're also throwing in 2 Champions League games amongst that. I can't remember if they're still in the League Cup or not, but I think they are, aren't they? I think they got through against Wolves after a shootout. So, So there's a game that to be thrown in. I mean, you would expect them to sort of use the squad for that game. But you've also got Tottenham and United in that bank of fixtures. So I mean, I think this will be, come out the other side of Christmas and they're still 8 points clear or more. Then you're thinking, okay, it's probably going to be a bit of a procession, but anything less, they get drawn back into the pack, and it could be game on for any number of sides, really. Yeah,
exactly. I think Tottenham are will stay on their toes. United have kind of sort of seemed to struggle a little bit recently, haven't they? With just obviously breaking teams down, and Lukaku hasn't scored for a few games. But yeah, like I say, any opportunity where City drop points, I'm sure there'll be other teams just obviously will obviously just think, oh, this is a chance, and come back into the group and make it interesting again. It's
quite concertina that 2nd to 6, or you've sort of got to include Burnley in it because they're obviously on 19 points along with Liverpool and Arsenal. Then you've got Chelsea on 22, United and Spurs on 23. So I mean, the one thing that City will probably take from it is that a few of these teams now are starting to play each other. We've got North London derby next weekend. Liverpool against Chelsea the following week. United against Arsenal somewhere in the midst of that. So you're starting to run up against these things where other teams will drop points because they have to. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, it's going to be. I mean, obviously City and Arsenal last weekend. Obviously City won quite comfortably in the end. But for a long time, I mean, they deserved to win, but for a long time they weren't taking their chances, and Arsenal was still in the game.
Yeah, I sort of wonder about it in a way because, I mean, use that game as a slight example. I felt that I didn't see the first half, and it sounded to me like City perhaps should have been 2-3 up. But the passage of play I was watching, actually, Arsenal came into it, did well, scored a goal. Possibly a bit unfortunate with the third goal, which is borderline offside.
There's no borderline about it.
I thought you might say that. I think it's a tough one.
He's clearly offside. Like one of his legs.
His legs offside.
His legs offside, and they say if you can score with it, it's offside. Yeah. So, but then again, at the end of the day, they were the better team, so they deserve to win.
Yeah, but I think so there is a school of thought that could say, well, you obviously can still get at this City defence. I think I've been impressed with them. I think they've been a lot better. I think Otamendi's been a lot better.
Yep.
John Stones looks like he's grown into his role. Yep. Fullbacks they've obviously changed over, and they seem to have done well. And the goalkeeper, in fairness, is now much he actually saves things. So he's a clear upgrade on last season.
He does. The only obviously where they're short at the moment because of injuries is left back, but. You wouldn't know it, would you? I mean, obviously, Delph has been playing there recently. Who's he's not a defender, but I think it's just obviously the way they play with fullbacks. Delph could easily play out there because he's a midfielder anyway, and he's obviously left-footed, so he can easily do a job out there. So
as long as you've got recovery pace, you can play in that role. I suppose.
And get up and down the field.
You've got to be obviously technically good, but I think he is a decent player.
I'm sorry to interject, but I feel like I spent far too much time looking for this advert.
Have you actually found it?
And no time on the pod.
No, that's fine. Let's go to you for your contribution.
Yeah. What's the update?
I think I've got this wrong.
Oh,
so I've wasted my time.
This is a triumphant comeback, and it's all gone to pot. But
well, I'm sure what you guys were saying was very interesting.
it wasn't as interesting as looking up the Courtswoman from the 1990s app. Yes. Okay. So we're talking about City, but more general the top 6 situation. I don't want to talk about Spurs too much because it gives you an opportunity to brag. But no, I'm joking. But yeah, how do you see it? I mean, so we're saying they obviously could stretch this lead, but this next stage of games where we're playing something like everyone's playing something like 100 games in 3 days, could test them.
Could test what, City?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, mind you, they've got an incredible squad, so.
Yeah.
When you say be tested, I think it would be different for, say, Burnley to fulfil those fixtures successfully than it would be for City. Because although players like Kevin De Bruyne are quite important for them, I think he's been outstanding. If he's out and they just throw in Bernardo Silva, it's not
good player, but not the same player.
No, but it's not like you're having to replace.
No.
If you're away at Leicester, he can do a job.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, something like that, just to use as a.
You're not going to get with De Bruyne the amount of chances and he creates and assists and that. I mean, it's kind of unique, but like I say, if you've got someone like Bernardo Silva coming, he's obviously a playmaker. He'll obviously come in and do the job against those sort of teams anyway. So
yeah, I mean, I think unless they have something of a capitulation like they did last year, and I don't think they will this time. I think Pep probably learnt his lessons. I do think City probably quite difficult to catch now.
I mean, I think this is the key. If we're still saying this on January the 2nd after we've played all these games and there's still something like 8 points clear, and it's a bit like that Chelsea season I mentioned, then you're probably saying, that barring a massive miracle, then it's theirs to lose. But it's still a bit early at the moment, and you could obviously United fans could argue they've got a similarly deep squad. I think they've been slightly unfortunate with this run of fixtures, but I expect them to get back on it once they resume. I mean, I know Pogba's a miss, and I don't know when nobody seems to be very secretive about when he's actually going to come back.
Got Ibrahimovic to come back because that's in the new year as well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I mean, they would be the one who I'd say have the squad depth to perhaps ride on City's coattails, if anything. He's just playing the Quartz Furniture advert. It's incredible.
I thought it was on mute, but
it's wonderful interjection. What does a Quartzwoman think of Manchester City's title chances?
Yeah, I think I've got this wrong, so the whole thing has been a complete waste of my time.
Oh my goodness, this is hasn't contributed to the pod for 15 minutes for nothing.
I'm back.
We haven't missed you though.
No.
Well, concentrate fully now on what we're supposed to be doing.
If you asked her what she thought about Manchester City's title challenge, she probably thought, it's kind of like 1982. They're in the second division.
Yeah, they're sponsored by Brother and they play at Main Road.
Yeah, we've gone that far off topic now. That I mean, the Quartz advert was a guy, if you remember. It was the guy from Only Fools and Horses. It wasn't a woman.
Oh yeah, what are we?
But it wasn't even the guy from Only Fools and Horses. The whole thing is just a complete mess.
It's a terrible farce.
Let's just move on.
This is not a triumphant. I can't even say triumphant properly. Not a triumphant return for us. Let's focus on the issue at hand. It is the top 6. So let's talk about Spurs. Do you think Spurs could catch City?
No.
One word answer. Thanks for that.
Should I expand? No, I don't. I mean, people say they've got the squad depth now, and I guess it has improved. But I think, again, in comparison to City, if you give City an 8-point head start,
it's still like, even at this early stage, it's theirs to lose. I would say. I mean, it is very early, but still.
I don't like saying that in November, although I understand where it's coming from.
I don't know about theirs to lose as such. I mean, technically, it is because they have to drop the points.
Yeah.
But we were saying off air earlier that the difficulty, and I don't know if you touched on this while I wasn't listening, but the difficulty is, for for example, Spurs could go on a run, as they have done, where they beat Liverpool and got a few other good results. But then one slip up, like the loss to their Manchester United, and because City just keep ploughing on, that setback is massive.
Well, they don't even have to slip up, do they? And I used the example of the Chelsea side when we were talking off air earlier, but that Chelsea side was so far ahead that I think Liverpool went about 10 games unbeaten, didn't even concede a goal in 8 of them, and we were still 12 points off Chelsea. So it's and that becomes a thing in its own, doesn't it? It becomes a bit of a dispiriting. Then you're playing for second place, then you're playing for Champions League places, which is now more of a thing because we've got a top 6, whereas back then there was a top 4. But
I wanted Pep to do well because I thought he took a lot of stick last year for is he this magical coach that everyone says he is? He goes to big clubs and wins. And to a degree that's true, isn't it? Because obviously he's had the money and the squads at Barcelona, and
it was also the first it was last year. It was the first season in his career he didn't win a trophy, wasn't it? I think so.
And he's clearly coming good this year. However, he has had that massive investment, and you would hope that any club that spent 100 million on a couple of fullbacks would be kind of doing what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I think a possible downfall for City could be how much do they want to win the Champions League. I think when it gets to the sort of business end to when they're in the knockout stages, if they're going all out for that, it's possible that obviously their league form might take a turn. But you can't see it at the moment. But
yeah, I think that has to be the league. The league form has to be sort of in jeopardy, doesn't it? If they're struggling in the Champions League, or they're concentrating on the Champions League, but they're 12 points clear, it's a very different conversation to if they're 2 points clear, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But
I'd imagine Pep will want to concentrate on. I mean, he'll want a trophy, obviously, but I'd imagine he'll be quite keen to win the Champions League again because I don't think he achieved it at Bayern.
No, he didn't.
Bayern didn't win under him, so I think to a degree, people would all say the jury's out on him at European level because the only club he succeeded doing that at was Barcelona, where some people would argue many coaches, given that squad, may have.
No, I think that's
won the same
entirely
amount
fair.
of trophies.
Excuse me.
It's arguable because other coaches might have gone in there and not done that. Louis van Gaal might have gone in there and just
annoyed everyone.
Exceptionally well.
Well, obviously Mourinho was. And sort of brings it back to the whole fight. But Mourinho was a front runner for the job, wasn't he? Before Guardiola got it, and there's all that talk, obviously, about where that enmity arrived. But it's hard to. I mean, it's shoulda, woulda, coulda, and all that stuff. But it's hard to see a Mourinho-led Barcelona achieving that same level, isn't it? You would have fancied them to win things, but possibly not play that type of football.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think you played.
No,
You're against United this year, don't you? They've got a lot of attacking talent, and they're still a relatively dull watch.
Yeah, I mean,
it gets the job done, and that's the thing you can't criticise him for. I mean, at the end of the day, he got a result against Spurs the other week when Spurs hadn't lost away all season so far. So the tactics are right to get the job done. It's just a case of, do you want to win in that manner? And that's the sort of question you could ask, throughout the league. I mean, I know we're going to move on to it later, but with West Ham, for example.
Actually, I think that's quite a good little segue onto United, who have had an interesting time. They absolutely started like a train, and then these last few fixtures, they sort of struggled a bit. I mean, I thought they, sort of got what they came for at Anfield, but I don't think there was the measure of control over the game that Mourinho would have liked. Lost at Huddersfield, obviously managed to beat Spurs, but it was a bit of a patchy performance all told. And then last game they get beat at Chelsea, and then they actually gave that a good go in the first 20 minutes to see if they could get a goal ahead, but sort of faded and were definitely second best by the time the end of the game. So I think they will get back to winning ways because it's too good a bigger squad not to. They've got easier games on that rise, and they've got Newcastle at home on Saturday, which you would, respecting Newcastle, you would expect them to win.
I mean, I think that was part of it, though. Their start was probably helped by the manner of the fixtures they had. And again, that's not to belittle anybody, but they had a West Ham where you never really know what you're going to get. They had Swansea.
Everton moon free fall at home.
Exactly. So it was difficult to gauge where Man United are really at until we got to this stage where they were sort of playing some of the bigger fixtures. And you know, I suppose you could argue they've coped relatively admirably. I mean, they beat Spurs, they drew with Liverpool. We're looking forward to the Manchester derby. I mean, that'll be
Well, it's a way, isn't it, Mark, that you seem to struggle. And that somebody posted a stat that said that in his last games, or his last something like 20 games away at top 6 sides, they've scored something like 1 goal. So it does seem. I don't know whether now with the top 6, you almost have to take a bit more of a risk away from home. Perhaps that's what they tried at Chelsea initially, but sitting back and getting a draw, while admirable, perhaps it worked in previous eras when we had a top 4, but now you've got a top 6, you perhaps have to go for it a bit more.
Yeah, I think at home it's slightly different because they can just play how they want to, but obviously I don't think, even though they have got the players to play like this, and they've got pace up front, but I think maybe away they should really play sort of more sort of counter attacking, and they've got pace up there with like Rashford and obviously Lukaku, Martial as well. But I think away from home they play far too compact. And it doesn't
the midfield sort of thing.
And it doesn't really work. They don't play sort of with a lot of width away from home. So I think that's the issue. I think that they're just they're not adventurous enough when they come away.
I think Mourinho was forced into having to go at Chelsea, to be honest, because first and foremost they're so far behind City that a point
that's
might
true.
be fine normally, but with the gap as it already is, they've had to try and go for 3. Plus Mourinho going back to Chelsea.
Do you think he sort of backs himself into a corner a bit here because he does this whole thing, and everyone knows what it's like now because he's been managing in the Premier League long enough, but he does this whole thing where he starts, his philosophy is the game starts with the first pre-match interview, and that's his whole thing, and he plays these games and he sort of indirectly and directly slags off his rivals, and he did it with Conte, and it gets to a point where you think because the football doesn't always match the kind of aggressive manner in which he goes about his business in the media. But so perhaps he got to the point where he just thought, well, I've got to back this up with something, especially as I'm going back to Chelsea. I've got a point to prove. Yeah. And he kind of come a cropper in a way because he sort of almost by his own hand.
I think so. Yeah. You're always struggling then to live up to a level, aren't you?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You've got to sort of go with your claims, haven't you? We've touched on Spurs, so obviously Liverpool and Arsenal, both mixed starts. Both could be doing better. I think we'd both agree on that. Mm-hmm. But I think there's potential there for both teams to grow into the season. Yeah. I think Arsenal are kind of a bit of same old problems. Conceding late goals against the big teams. We're kind of in the game, but also we still get well beaten. I'm going to say that just to interject that I think the most, in a way, the biggest shame about last weekend is the fact that you couldn't have a good 10 after you scored. No, you couldn't have a 10 where you just go, okay lads, we'll keep it tight, go again, and have a go at them at the end of the game, because I thought they were rocking. And obviously you're a bit unlucky with the goal, like we said previously, but I mean, I think we pulled it. Obviously, pulled it back to 2-1 early enough, but I think we just couldn't cope with City going forward. Yeah. Really, we were every sort of we were just actually sloppy in possession that we have been recently. We just can't keep the ball in the centre of the park, and as soon as City got the ball, the speeds they broke at was just frightening, and we just couldn't deal with that. I mean, it was you're not the only team to happened to this season. It was a shame, like I say, it was a shame in the end that obviously, they probably warranted a third goal, but it was just the manner of it in the end, how it came. It's disappointing. Yeah. The
thing with Arsenal and Liverpool, from a relatively neutral standpoint, is that the problems you're suffering in your seasons now aren't exactly problems that are new to anybody. No. We could do a whole pod on this again, as we have done before. So it's difficult. Well, I mean, I'll say it's so we'll bring up the fact that Spurs humped Liverpool 4-1, but I think the fact is
I mean, Liverpool, I don't think Liverpool played that badly in that game.
No,
but they were undone by absolutely atrocious defending.
It's true,
and like you say, that's absolutely not a new problem.
But
So
I think if you've consistently got a problem that undoes you in games, it's all well and good being in games, but if that Achilles heel's always going to trip you up, you're almost beaten before you play because you know that a Lovren might step up and get under the ball. I feel bad for picking on Lovren just because he had a particularly rotten game that day, but
you're not alone.
Well, it was just the first 2 goals, wasn't it? Then he got hauled
I actually
off.
felt sorry for the fella because it's like it gets to a point where you think you're witnessing something here that he's a human being, you know. Like I say, it's an absolute stinker he's had, but he, you know, like some of the abuse was well over the
death
top.
threats and stuff.
Horrible. But
no need for that.
So I think, you know, I don't think it's a permanent fix, but I think Klopp slightly tweaked things after that game, and they've done relatively well defensively. I don't think the problem's fixed by any stretch of the imagination, but you know they've done okay. They've been a bit more compact in the previous, and like not quite as swashbuckling, but getting the job done sort of things. I mean, I was very pleased with the West Ham result purely because we were going to West Ham, they're in trouble, and I thought, the pessimist in you think, we're the perfect team for this team to play when they're struggling. They'll beat us 2-0, and the fact that we humped them and sort of kicked them while they were down, I was really happy about.
Well, I have to say though, you did, and obviously it was a solid win there in the end. But again, as often happens when a team is slightly ahead but doesn't finish the opposition off, when West Ham scored, I seem to remember there was another moment where Lanzini brought the ball down over the back of Gomez and smashed it over the bar from maybe 6-7 yards. If that flies into the roof of the net, suddenly Liverpool will be rocking. You've conceded 2 goals against a struggling side, and I just think that's the trouble with Liverpool. That's the example. Had that ball gone in from Lanzini.
That's fair. I think that I think Arsenal might be similar. I think Liverpool can defend well, and they do know how to defend, but there's individual errors, there's lapses of concentration. That's what happens. And in fairness, Gomez gets done for the goal for West Ham. It's actually a very good goal. It's a very good finish. But he's a young lad, so you sort of learning on the job type thing. You sort of accept that, but obviously, be nice for. As I think Gomez has done really well, and I've enjoyed watching him, but I'd like to see Klein back at some point.
I'm interested to know also why you went and bought Andy Robertson and now persist with Alberto Moreno. There must be reasons.
He was out of favour. Obviously, was just out of favour last season.
He's actually been our best defender this season, so I get the feeling that Klopp's sort of thinking, well, we don't want to rock the boat right now. It's been a ridiculous turnaround in terms of you just thought. Last season, he's just daft, isn't he? Just does stupid things, jumps in, loses the ball, and that's been none of that this season.
We've seen Sergio Aurier this season.
It's just a left back thing, isn't it? They're all crackers. I mean, just to sum up, I think you wouldn't be surprised if there was sort of like the next run of fixtures will tell all, I think, but you wouldn't be surprised if, say, for me, United and City perhaps find out the tail. Spurs, I think, would be a solid third, and then you might get Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool fighting it out for fourth. That may be harsh on Chelsea, who played very well last weekend, but I think they're still a bit inconsistent. Still, it's a small squad as well, and I feel like when they've had a few injuries, they've struggled. Didn't have hardly any last season. But
I could still see Spurs finishing above United.
I think that's entirely possible.
But what I would say is that aside from City, where we kind of came into this, the other 5 that make up this mythical top 6 as it is,
and Burnley, you should mention.
Sorry, Burnley, but all good things. That 5, I find them all much of muchness. Actually, they're all at a certain level where one can quite comfortably beat another one day, and then be turned over by them the next. Whereas I think City are just that level above, which is why they'll ultimately win the league.
What do you reckon, Mark?
I think City are by far the strong. They've got the strongest squad at the moment. They're playing the best football. They just look unstoppable at the moment. So I think they'll win the league. I think Tottenham will finish in second. Again, yeah. I think.
Always a bridesmaid.
I think. Well, no. I think Tottenham are the next best team in the league.
I think consistency at Spurs, isn't it? You've got the same sort of group of players every year with 1 or 2 additions.
Exactly, and then I think. I think Chelsea will probably finish third, and United will finish fourth, and then the rest are battling him for
Europa League spots.
Yeah, exactly.
Neil, how do you see it then? Because obviously your club wasn't listed there, why not?
No. I think if you looked at the top 6, as we've talked about this season so far, you would have to agree that Liverpool and Arsenal have been the most inconsistent out of them.
I think that's
you can see the logic in it. I mean, I sort of hope that. Obviously, my hope is we get players back like Lallana, who've missed, and Klein, and then we can go on a bit of a run. But you could certainly see a universe where that happens. 5th and 6th are Liverpool and Arsenal, or Burnley.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing here, isn't it? When it comes to both Arsenal and Liverpool, it's just consistency. Yeah. I don't think. Well, we say we're consistently inconsistent. Yeah, really. At this, you kind of sort of never know. Some weeks are really good, and some weeks are bad.
Well, Arsenal turn over a lot of clubs when they score first, but if you get on top of Arsenal,
I think that's a big thing.
Yeah, I think if we go, I mean, we've actually. Well, to be fair, there's been a couple of games recently where we've actually gone behind and come back.
That's true.
And come back to win, which previous season we wouldn't do it, but I think. If we go behind, we do get very nervy, and then we kind of sort of like it's almost desperate.
Whereas go 1 up, and you almost smother teams of football. You start.
Yeah, if we go 1 up, then we can just basically relax and play our game. Yeah. And then I think if we go 1 behind, then we're getting a bit desperate, and then teams just shut up shop, and so we're 1 ahead. We just got to. So.
Yeah, well, we'll move on. We'll see what happens in that next run of, like I said, 1 billion games. I'm sure we'll do a pod at some point in the near future where everything looks stupid and it turns out that Burnley are actually going to win the league. But
Burnley in 4th after the next.
Yeah,
next
it could
week.
be.
Yep.
Well, that might depend on the Daesh.
Well, yeah,
situation.
It's a decent segue to move on to the team who we thought would probably be 7th of the after the top 6, and currently nowhere near. So the Ev, and this isn't I'm not getting. I know that it's understandably that people are going to think I'm laughing at this, and it is funny, but I'm not going to lie. But and I say that in full expectation they'll probably turn us over in the derby in a few weeks because that's just the kind of club the Ev are. But it's very strange. I mean, they've been a talking point all season. Obviously, Koeman has now been sacked. In retrospect, it looks a very strange appointment. I don't really ever know what Ronald Koeman was about, or what kind of style, philosophy he hoped to bring in. I couldn't tell you what an Everton Ronald Koeman team looks like. So it's a very strange appointment from that point of view. Dyche is obviously the favourite. I actually thought by now, and we're talking on 12th of November, I thought they'd have appointed Dyche. I thought that was all wrapped up. But the fact that there's been no movement suggests that there's perhaps something else going on.
You don't know if there's there's possibly maybe talks behind the scene. I think the end of the day, Dyche is. He's got to, if he basically sort of doesn't show any interest in it, there's no point pursuing him really at the end of the day. But
the question is, I suppose, is if you were Sean Dyche, would you actually take the job at this point? Because
I was thinking about this the other day. Actually, I was talking to somebody at work about this, and it's a hard one really for Dyche because he can look at it and just think that Everton are. In the big grand scale of things, are a bigger club than Burnley. However, I'm doing good things here at Burnley.
Yeah. And Everton's a mess.
Yeah, and Everton's a mess, and I could go in, might not be able to turn it round, and then I'm out. So he could look at it on a sort of a career point of view, as a sort of step up, but then again, obviously, like. At the moment, he's doing good things at Burnley, so it's a difficult one, really.
I mean, Dan, there's every chance that Everton, to paraphrase a fan from another club, give it unsy until the end of the season, And in that case, Dyche can also look at that and go, well, I'll finish my campaign at Burnley because the one thing I've noticed about Burnley is that they're a very fit side, very well trained, very well drilled. I think Sean Dyche going into Everton mid-season with a load of different players who they've sort of bought, parachuted in, it could be, it could take him months for them to play the way he wants them to play. They're already struggling.
I get the feeling that's what they'd like to do. I think they probably would like to put Unsworth in till the end of the season, try and climb the table, and have an appointment ready for the summer. Be that Dyche or the talk of Simeone, which seems a strange one to me.
It makes perfect sense from an Everton, just to digress on Simeone, that makes absolutely perfect sense from what an Everton fan would like to see, I think, point of view, in terms of winning trophies and the style of football. But go from
you say style of football, very defensive, Atletico.
I think they're quite attacking when they want to be, but I think that's an Everton thing. I think the good Everton sides are compact. They have wide midfielders instead of wingers, 2 up front. This is all stuff that has won them titles in previous.
Which is true.
Seasons. But anyway, but it's very strange to go, Koeman out, who's the next person? Simeone. That doesn't really seem to be much of a thought process there.
Koeman had obviously built the reputation he had with his performance at Southampton, as with many coaches, Pochettino for example. So I can see why they took a punt on him. However, I think what it comes down to at Everton, 2 things. Is partly one, who was ultimately in charge of recruitment, because you've brought
there is that
X amount of attacking midfielders, no main striker.
There's no pace in that squad.
No pace in there really, and that's why Unsworth brought back in Morales and Lennon the other week, which was an experiment that didn't quite work out at Leicester. So partly it's recruitment. But also partly it felt like there was never a connect between Koeman and the club and the fans. I'm sort of using something I've heard elsewhere, but he would often refer to Everton as Everton.
He not we and us.
As a club, as if he was ingratiated in it.
Yeah, Blue Noses are furious about that.
That would annoy me. You want to feel that people working at your club, even if it is a career thing for them, as a fan you want to feel like they care. And if ultimately you feel like they're walking into a press conference and
phoning it in.
Yeah, you're not going to have that connect. That can't be healthy if the terraces are already restless and then your club isn't really playing the football in the style that you was expecting. Because like you said, they would have been expecting at the start of the season a minimum of 7th. I'm sure if you'd have spoken to some of the fans pre-season with the money spent, they'd have said, well, 7th, I can see why people would say that, but perhaps with a good run with these players, we could sniff around 5th, maybe 4th with an outside chance. Obviously, they're nowhere near that now.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think in some ways the not we and us thing isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I think Everton for too long, and this is David Moyes' thing really, and I'll slaughter him at length when we go on to West Ham, but for too long Everton have sort of defined themselves by not being Liverpool, and I think Martinez to an extent and Koeman definitely were a bit of a step away from that. They sort of went, no, we'll be the best Everton we can be. We're not bothered about Liverpool, people's club nonsense and all that stuff. But yeah, I think you're right. Ultimately, I think it didn't, and he was often said, oh yeah, he wants to manage Barcelona. Good luck with that, Ronnie. But the fact that he made no secret of that desire and didn't sort of try and quash it, I don't think the Everton fans took to that, rightly so, to be fair.
No, he's certainly by the end of it. I mean, obviously, results obviously didn't help, but I don't think he was just the most popular person with the fans anyway, was he? But yeah, obviously you touched on it earlier. I think Everton's problem is they've obviously they sold Lukaku and have not bought an out-and-out striker. They've got some forwards, they've got some attacking midfielders. They've massively overspent on some people, and it's just not happened, has it? So
and then they've got a batch of youngsters that were almost sidelined.
Yeah, well, that was the
At the
thing,
start.
wasn't it? Like last season, and Everton were good at home last season. Everyone forgets. I think they only lost twice at home or something. They humped City 4-0, and they had some other good results.
It's traditionally a tough place to go,
Yeah.
isn't it, Goodison Park?
And that was all. That was all the talk of these youngsters. Calvert-Lewin and your Davies, who I really like, by the way. I think he's a really good player.
Yeah, both them two. Good players.
And they got a couple of defenders as well, Kenny, I think, and somebody else.
Holgate.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so it is kind of sad, really, that they then sidelined all of these players, like you say, for sort of brought in. They obviously did need to strengthen.
Yeah, I don't dispute that. If you want to push on, you have to.
But yeah, just sort of been in the maul off for players, which is there's a very mixed bag, which you're always going to get when you make 7 signings for the summer. Not all of them are going to work out. Maybe
I mentioned 3, this on Twitter
4.
though, didn't I? Because for me, I looked at Everton when they sold Lukaku, and you could see from the fact that they bought 5 or 6 players in beforehand, the expectation was Lukaku would go, and the money
it was
they got
like
from him would replace
Spurs
it.
and Bale
It
and
was
Liverpool
exactly
and
the same
Suarez.
as that. It's almost like Everton and Liverpool before then, when Spurs did it with Bale. It's like no one learns any lessons from what other clubs do.
Yeah.
I know you need to reinvest that money, excite the fans, build a feel-good factor, but it's pointless just blowing £100 million on players because they've got a name and you think it will get people excited. You have to have a plan.
That's exactly what they've done. And I was just going to say that actually, that they, in effect, they've gone out and bought big names like in the world of football, which on paper you can have, they bought some some good players and that, but just, obviously not worked in the way of Everton, how Everton play at the moment.
I still think Pickford is a good signing. I still think Sigurdsson, maybe not for that money, but Sigurdsson is a solid Premier League player, good signing. But as a collection of players,
they were just individuals.
Do you think it's Do you think it's as well trying to replace one player with about 5 or 6? I'm not sure that works. I think
just to what Spurs did.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Spurs
and it's what Liverpool
did
did as well.
Yeah.
And I think to use another example, Liverpool-centric example, Torres leaves Liverpool and Liverpool just replace it. Okay, they sort of replace him with Andy Carroll, but they mainly replace him with Suarez. If you lose a boss player, just get another boss player in. perhaps it's not that simple.
I can say in Everton's defence there, and as with Spurs at the time, if you're not consistently playing Champions League football, and a player of Lukaku's quality goes to a Champions League club,
you're not going to get somebody.
You're probably not going to get a star quality come in.
And it's hard for me to name somebody, in fairness, who I think is roughly around Lukaku's level, who they could have gone for. I couldn't think. I mean, Giroud was the one, wasn't it?
That's the one they wanted.
They were chasing.
But he ultimately, he just said he wanted to stay at Arsenal. So
a lot of players like being in London.
Always liked him.
True.
Always liked him. All right. Well, another situation we'll watch with interest.
We haven't mentioned Allardyce.
Oh yes, of course, the big sound factor.
Obviously, there's going to be a West Ham connection in a minute. Let's mention Allardyce.
I love that he's thinking of all the links. Radio professional. The court saga earlier is forgiven.
Yeah, please forget that. I was clearly wrong.
Partially our fault as well. So.
Is that a short-term thing? Allardyce, would he be like an end of season?
Do you think he would? I'm not sure he would see it as a short-term thing.
No,
I think Everton would.
Yeah,
and I think that's where the disconnect could happen, because I think Everton would go, "You're here for this. You're here to fix these problems, sort us out. We're looking around long-term, because even Dyche long-term makes more sense than Allardyce."
Yeah.
But
Allardyce.
Sean Connery.
Sorry.
So it's a bit of an, but I get the feeling he's got a bit of an ego, hasn't he, Big Sam? I think he's always wanted to manage a big club. He'd look at Everton like that. I think it could be tricky. I think he'd do the job, and I think he'd keep them up, and he might even do a bit more than keep them up, because they've got some good players.
Well, that's the thing is with Allardyce. He obviously sees himself. He wants to. He said himself that he doesn't want to sort of go to a club that's just been fighting against relegation. Well, Everton kind of are at the moment. I know, obviously, probably shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But Allardyce would come in and he would keep them up, because that's what Allardyce does.
Yeah.
So that does open the question that I'm sort of interested to know. We talked about the top 6, but when you look at the clubs sort of scrapping around the bottom, and the clubs that you think shouldn't traditionally be there, certainly financially shouldn't be there. So if you look at West Ham, look at Everton, are they genuinely in trouble? I mean, they're not playing great football, but are they really in trouble when you consider, I mean, Palace are picking up, but you look at Palace down there, you look at Bournemouth down there, Swansea down there, they look, in my opinion, they look more vulnerable simply because you can't see how they're going to get out. You can't see the quality at, say, Swansea that will get them above the line again. Whereas with the West Ham and Everton, you feel like they will eventually get a couple of results because the players they've got.
I think Everton are in no danger of being relegated. I think
obviously it would be hilarious, but
yeah,
I don't see it happening.
No, West Ham could be in trouble, but I think they'll have enough to stay up. But I think it'll be close. Though I think they are in a bit of trouble.
Well, let's move on to West Ham.
Yeah.
Dan Laundy was, we'll park Everton and see what happens there. Maybe that Allardyce is in situ by next week. Looks unlikely that Dyche will be, but who knows? Or Simeone.
You never know.
At least they're aiming big with that, so you can't fault them for.
I'd be stunned if he took that job.
It would be a real turnaround for them, wouldn't it? But we shall see. So West Ham. I think the thing is with West Ham, before we even get on to the Moyes thing, it does just, it's that stadium, isn't it? It seems to just drain the life out of the players when they go onto the pitch, and I'm not sure that David Moyes is going to be the sort of tub thumping manager that they need to get themselves out of that hole.
They almost needed like an Allardyce.
Yeah.
Or Simeone.
Koeman's available.
True.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark. I think they could be in a bit of bother because I think as well, going on to the Moyes thing, Moyes built a good foundation at Everton, and let no one say he didn't. I'm not a particular fan of him as a manager, but he did a good job there. But he built it alongside a real sort of hard-working kind of ethic.
Yeah.
I think West Ham have a lot of players who sort of want to be the superstar player.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talent there, but it's not being used in the right direction, and I don't know. I think he might have a bit of a job on his hands.
I think so. He's got a problem with strikers are just all injured. Apart from Hernandez, who I think he will obviously score goals.
Yeah.
But they need people creating. Obviously, Lanzini's a good player.
Yeah, really.
Arnautovic completely overspent on him. He's decent player, but it's kind of like, well, you've seen through his career and stuff. He's, especially when he was at Inter Milan, didn't get on Mourinho, did he?
Not alone there.
Yeah, no, but I think he's had some problems with managers in his career.
He's never one where you look at, you think, we're playing these today. You look at him, oh God, he might do something. He might, but he's never one that you're really worried about.
Decent player, but not someone you'd be like to say you go into a game and just thought, you've just got to keep tight on him because he can cause problems. But I think apart from Lanzini, creativeness, they haven't really got anything. Obviously, you got Antonio, who obviously was good last season, has been sort of injured this season and sort of come back into the team, but
took a kick in the other week for when he should have taken the ball into the corner.
Really should have chewed it, shouldn't he, for about 2 minutes.
I don't know what
the thing is, if you're going to do a cross like that, at least make sure it gets to your man.
Yeah, it was a dreadful cross, wasn't it? It might as well have stayed in the corner and just seen the time out. But it's easy
chewed
to
the ball
say.
for 2 minutes. But having said that,
I would, to be honest, if I was him and I looked into the box and there's no one there, obviously either stay there or just smash it out of plane to the crowd. The crowd's so far away anyway.
Or put it out for a throw-in or something. Anyway, we've digressed.
But my thing with West Ham is a little bit like with Everton. So pre-season, they've gone out and bought, or loaned in Joe Hart's case, players with names again. Individuals, because they think, it gets a good feeling around the club, and again the fans will love the fact that they're getting these statement players, Joe Hart, Arnautovic, Hernandez, all Premier League proven talent to a degree, so it's hard to criticise whether those signings were the right ones for West Ham or not. But again, to me it didn't feel like there was a plan there. It didn't look like they were building anything. I don't necessarily think modern day Joe Hart is a step up on Adrian. I thought he was doing okay.
No, Adrian's, I think, a decent keeper.
He's declined quite rapidly.
He's clearly declined.
I wouldn't even take him over Mignolet now.
Wow, that's some statement. So Hernandez has been a bit of a letdown, but then if he's not getting the service perhaps he needs as a striker to score the goals, you can't really lay too much blame at his door.
They need some defenders.
Like I say, on Auschwitz has been a letdown.
Yeah.
It's an old defence as well, isn't it?
It is. It's
Font, who's about 34.
Yeah, got Font.
Winston Reed's
in his 30s as well. James Collins, they still got. He must be about 36 now or something. He's been around.
I really felt for Bilic. I don't know how involved he was in whatever the West Ham project was. He obviously did a really good job the season that they finished up at Upton Park. Yeah, that was a far worse place to have to go as an opposition.
Oh, absolutely.
Than where they are now.
Yeah.
And so I feel for him because I think he did do really well when they were there, and the stadium has had a massive impact on the West Ham that you see now. They just don't perform there like you touched on. And I think whoever goes in there next is going to face the same problem.
Yeah.
Or it's Moyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like you said, he's a strange one to bring in when you need to bring everyone together.
Yeah. And
you bring in a manager who, if anything, is probably quite divisive. So it's a strange appointment. I get the experience, but his current record with Sunderland and then
sort of got a bit of
a
habit of throwing people under the bus as well, hasn't he? In a slightly sort of.
Well, he'd relegated Sunderland last season before they played any games. So I wouldn't be that confident if I was West Ham.
Well, do you reckon that's why they've only given him a contract at the end of the season? Because really, like you want to say, okay, we need to get some more stability back. We go for the long term, but obviously they've only given him a 6-month contract. Well, right. Until
probably
just over.
Proven wrong, but I think it was the wrong appointment. Full stop.
It does. It doesn't. I mean,
it feels like a panic button appointment. They've seen he's available. They got rid of Bilic. I don't think Bilic was doing a particularly bad job, but he's been a dead man walking for the last year. So there's been a couple of fixtures away.
I actually saw a quote the other day actually that I thought it's a little bit harsh from one of the owners, and they basically said that Moyes was the best available, and I was like, sounds a bit. Moyes reading that.
You're really downgrading your expectations
exactly.
when David Moyes is the best available.
But then again, that would worry me.
Yeah.
Because to me, that feels like no due diligence has been done. They've gone again. Oh well, Moyes is a name. He's managed in the Premier League. He's done all right. Let's give it to him. Yeah. I don't feel like they've. I mean, look at Everton by comparison. They're now, having made a poor decision, they're now trying to make the right decision and seem to be taking a little bit of time to work out what they think to do is best. Be that for the next 6 months or after that in the future, if it's a short-term appointment. With West Ham, it's David Moyes is available. Well, he's managed in the Premier League before. He's got a good decade's worth of experience. He'll do.
Yeah.
And it's the same process they take with signing these players that have played Premier League football. Yes, they have, and they've done all right. But are they the right players for you? And I think that's where West Ham slip up all the time.
In fairness, there was talk. I'll be slightly fair to West Ham, even though I think their owners are dreadful. There was talk that they approached Benitez, somebody else whose name escapes me, who was a bit more of a dynamic appointment than Moyes, and obviously they just got turned down. So Moyes wasn't. Like they said, perhaps, Mark, he was the best available. There were other managers not available who they would have preferred.
But the thing is, obviously, if it was the case as the best available, they've looked at all the managers out there who are currently available, and they thought, well, okay, but you don't come out and say that, really. It's a bit strange.
Damning with faint praise already. It's already downgrading expectations.
I'd be fearful because another couple of bad results under the new guy. You're probably not going to sack him again.
I don't think it's the right appointment. I don't think he's the man to obviously get them back to winning ways, but I could be proven wrong at the end of the day. So
for his sake, I hope he is, because I mean his stock has fallen so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fact that there could be a relegation zone with Moyes and Hodgson in it, that's pretty tempting to me.
Yeah,
and Everton.
I'm going to switch off the post-match press conferences, I think, because they're just going to be very dull.
That's it. Well, there's going to be a lot of throwing players under the bus, isn't there? I did the best I could with the tools available, blah, 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 blah.
I think Hodgson will keep Palace up.
I think you might be right. I heard you discussed me when you were talking about Palace and said that I'd have something to say. And what I would say is I think he'll keep them up. I think he'll get them about 44 points. He wins 1 in 3 of his games. That's generally his record. It's usually enough.
I don't think he's that bad.
He's just mediocre.
I mean, yeah.
Well, he's got obviously so much experience, like in England and abroad, isn't he? So you can't knock that out.
It's a whole separate podcast and a ranty one. What I hate about him is the fact that he tries to downgrade expectations everywhere he goes, and he throws players under the bus. And people think he's a nice man, and he's not. He really is not a nice man. When you look at the stuff he says, he's actually a bit of a nasty piece of work, and he tries to hide behind other people, I think. But anyway, this podcast could go on for another hour if I start, so I best not.
Swiftly moving on. So West Ham then, to sum up, in trouble.
Yeah, we think so at this point, and they'll probably go on a 15-game winning run and win the league now to prove us wrong.
Arnautovic.
Money on that's not going to be the case.
Arnautovic named player of the season.
Yeah.
Probably after saying.
Yeah. I mean, the next 6 weeks are key, I think, because with a new manager, you should get that bounce, and if you don't get that, if you don't get that, and West Ham needs something, it's not just about it's not even about performances now. It's about getting some results, and if they're not getting that,
it's that whole back to basics thing, isn't it?
It is, and I've got to say, Golden Sullivan, I don't recall them having the greatest record at Birmingham either.
No.
I mean, Birmingham did okay, obviously, to come up, but it always felt in spite of them rather than because of them. So,
yeah, and I suppose obviously when I look for a new manager, Steve Bruce not available, so you couldn't bring him in.
The classic appointment. Okay, we're running out of time, but I did put a couple of things other on the agenda. Briefly, let's just say Brighton doing really well. I don't think anyone's really talking about them. So
yeah, we should applaud all the guys that came.
I think Huddersfield. There's been quite a lot of chat because they beat United, and rightly so. They've done well, but I think just Brighton just ticking along down there. Done decently at home. Beat West Ham obviously away the other week. Massive win at Swansea last time out. So
we've mentioned him on the pod once before, but Chris Hughton massively underrated.
Yep.
I think so. Yeah.
He'd have more of a chance of having inspired a West Ham resurgence, I think, than David Moyes.
I think he unfairly gets sort of lumped in with that crowd, doesn't he? Of the Moyes, the Allardyces, and the
because of the
Hodgsons.
style of football, though, I think.
Yeah, possibly. It's a little bit uninspiring, but he does well. He's a nice. He seems like a nice fellow anyway, and he does well. He doesn't pull up any trees, but Brighton. And I'm fully prepared for them to lose the next game 6-0 now. I've said this, but they've not been disgraced in any game they've played this season. City only won 2-0 there. Arsenal beat them, I think, was it 2-0 as well?
Yeah, 2-0, yeah.
So,
I said before, whenever he's lost his job elsewhere, he's always been quite unfortunate.
Yeah, he definitely was at Newcastle, wasn't he?
He didn't do a bad job at Norwich at
all.
No,
I mean, he's probably about that level. But
yeah, but I mean, that's what I mean. I think people need to understand their level sometimes.
Yeah.
Too many clubs now look to go beyond their station, and I can understand why you'd be ambitious, but with clubs with the power they've got these days, sometimes you should accept that that's where you are.
Yeah, saying it.
I was just going to say, still on Brighton. One player I'd like to mention that they've signed that's been a bit under the radar. Pascal Gross.
Is he the lad who's like 35?
No, he's I'm not sure. He is in his 20s. He's an attacking midfielder. They signed for $3 million from the German league. Someone like that. And I saw some stats the other day, and with regards to assists and chances created, he's in the top 3 of players in the Premier League.
That's good.
And
West Ham will try and sign him at Christmas.
Probably. But yeah, he's been a good signing for $3 million. Absolute bargain.
Cut price, yeah. And Murray's still banging the goals for them at 34, which is fair enough. You always thought Glenn Murray was like a championship level player, but he's doing fairly well in this level right now.
So what I'm glad to see is that Anthony Knockaert has managed to adapt to the Premier League now, and he looks a threat playing for Brighton.
Yeah, I watching him last season, I only saw the odd game, but I thought he looked the best player on the pitch when I watched him for Brighton last season.
And he's starting to shine at this level now as well, so I'm quite glad about that.
Because it was the same with Leicester, wasn't it? When they came up, he was like their best player in the Championship, and they got promoted, and then they sold him.
Yeah. He deserves his chance. And
definitely.
I think he's taking it, and he could be key to Brighton picking up 3 points when maybe there's only one on offer. Just something special from him.
Yeah, make something happen.
Yeah, I mean, the last 2 away results have been really good, and I don't think anyone now going to play Brighton thinks. Yeah, you think, we might pick up 3 points, but it's not going to be easy, and we're certainly not going to run away with it because they're disciplined enough back to do that. I'm conscious of time, is sure. West Brom and Stoke, let's lump them in together because they're both clubs who I think are punching under their weight at the moment. I don't think Tony Pulis really should be in any danger, but fans are getting a bit restless.
Seems so, yeah.
Sometimes you don't know what you've got till it's gone, and I think Stoke are sort of a bit of a funny sort of cautionary tale for West Brom in a way, because it might not have been the prettiest football they played, and I wouldn't want to watch it every week, I have to say, but it was quite exciting at Stoke, and it got them results, and it made their home form was really good.
They're hard to beat.
But wait,
they're not now.
In fairness, since Hughes has gone in there, they finished 8th twice, and Pulis never got them that high.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
So,
perhaps
in Hughes' defence,
perhaps Stoke fans have been, because I think both clubs, from the noises I hear from both, are not overly happy. They sort of feel that they're drifting a bit.
well, I saw
Not any progression. They're just sort of just sort of bobbling along.
This is
Really,
what I'm saying about people being at their level. I saw a poll the other day. A journalist asked West Brom fans whether they would rather be safe every year, play Premier League football every year, guaranteed under Pulis, or would they rather sack him and return to being a yo-yo club as they were known perhaps a decade or so ago. And that won the poll.
Do you know what though? I get that in a weird way.
They'd rather go up and down.
Because there's excitement though, isn't there?
There's also massive disappointment, and there's no guarantee with the money in the Championship now. There's no guarantee of coming back. You look at the clubs that have gone down.
tough division to get out of. Yeah.
I agree, but I think, do you know what? Perhaps this is a bit of a romanticised football fan kind of thing, but you always, when you get into it, you're in it for a journey, and you sort of accept, perhaps tacitly, that there's going to be ups and downs, and perhaps they just want a bit of fun. I think West Brom fans. I think a cup run, for both clubs, that would be the best thing.
I mean,
rather than getting relegated and promoted. But I kind of get it, because then you're on a knife edge. Then it's important to turn up every week, rather than you're in 12th and you're playing West Ham at home and you're getting a point.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's easy to sit here and say that now, but if you go back 10 years and the fans are sat there sort of almost resigned to the fact that they're not good enough, I mean, that means that why would you look forward to your weekends? Because you essentially know that 3 times out of 4 you're probably going to lose 2 or 3-0 and just head straight down. Whereas at least at the moment they'll pick up results. They will beat teams. I mean, West Brom will pick up a result against the Spurs. They will pick up a result against Liverpool. It might not be every week, but they're capable of that, and they will finish top 12. And I mean, top 12 10 years ago.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you, but I sort of just see where they're coming from in terms of wanting a journey and wanting to know where it's going, because it all gets a bit samey. I think is the thing, and I think the same. Like you say, Stoke have done reasonably well under Hughes, but the same thing's sort of happening. He's brought in these decent players, and they do play some good football, and they get results in the league. They get results away from home, but it's all a bit.
They kind of just both teams really. It's I get it where people say it's not really exciting because, well, they both don't score enough goals, and if they do get a win, it's maybe it's a 1-0 or something like that, and then it's you don't really see a Stoke or a West Brom just winning 4-0 or something. Don't really see it.
West Brom are a solid unit, and that tends to be what you get with the Pulis. I think so. That beforehand. With Stoke, it's more disappointing because they have finished higher. And they have got that attacking talent there. It just doesn't seem to inspire as often as it should.
Yeah.
I think they've got players like Hesse, they've got Afellay still, they've got Shaqiri.
Yeah, all of those players.
If you had those in your squad, they'd probably be luxury players at a bigger club.
You'd have them as a squad player, and some of those are squad players in a top 6 side.
I think Shaqiri's a fine little player, isn't he? When he turns up, he's
there were teams looking at him. I think Liverpool were linked.
Well, his history suggests, the clubs he's been at, his history suggests he's obviously a quality player. But then you look at them and they almost seem to...
Just less of the sum of their parts.
Yeah, I mean, it was like Hesse, when he came in, obviously, was it Arsenal he scored?
Yeah, he scored his debut against us.
We had to get that in.
Sorry, I couldn't remember. But he looks like he would be a fine for Stoke because he obviously wasn't playing very well at, I think, was it PSG?
Yeah, he just wasn't getting any game time.
But now he can't even get in starting 11 at Stoke.
Yeah.
And that I find that strange. It's almost like players go there and they just drain of the talent they've got. It's almost like you get a grey player.
Well, I think they were playing when they first brought in the team. They were playing him up front, but they've been playing that. What's his name? Is it Choupo-Moting?
Oh yeah.
Instead,
he scored 2 against Man U.
Yeah,
didn't he?
Yeah, but that's it.
Yeah.
In fairness.
Yeah, so far.
Yeah, it's a bit patchy.
That's Stoke in a nutshell.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see. I mean, I think both clubs could really do with a cup run, but whether they will or not, because as we've said before, they tend to put out reserve sides.
I mean, that's something that would frustrate me if I was in a lower half side of the table club anyway, because you'd think, well, we're never going to likely win the league.
Fixture
Unlikely will be in
congestion's
Europe.
not really a factor, is it?
No, let's have a go.
At the end of the day, I think with both those clubs, I don't think at this moment in time and the squads they've got and the manager's got, I don't think they're in any danger of getting relegated.
No.
I think they're teams that are just going to be safe mid-table. So I don't know why you wouldn't. So okay, we're good enough to obviously stay in this division. Let's try for a cup run. Let's see if we can win a trophy.
I think the one thing I would say, I suppose, is they look at, say, the League Cup, which a couple of years ago, because the top clubs almost binned it, the smaller clubs had a chance of a run.
Yeah.
Whereas now, even when City put out a weakened side, or United put out a weakened side, it's still better than most other sides.
You see, obviously, the team's still left in it, even though they're playing all weakened teams. It's still like the so-called
United, City, Arsenal.
Exactly. So I mean, maybe to a degree they see it as a thankless task to go after something, but
I suppose
what's the purpose otherwise?
I suppose even with the FA Cup, I mean, look who that's been. Wigan aside, look who that's been won by in the last 6 or 7 years. It's Arsenal, United, Chelsea. So it's hard, but then the flip side of that is perhaps if those sides gave it more of a go and on their day they might knock one of those teams out because they're capable of getting the results. Stoke showed that against United and Arsenal. Yeah. West Brom can, like you said, can spoil anyone's day. So yeah. Okay, well, I think we're about done now. That's just over an hour. So
I mean, I'm assuming everyone's delighted to have heard our dulcet tones again for the first time in a while.
I hope so. I hope so. I hope we've been missed, particularly by the man who was in the courts advert, who's definitely a man.
To be honest,
and not the same guy as in Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
I suspect he's dead.
Well, if he isn't, that's a terrible triple whammy. He's just, if by any remote chance that he is listening, this is absolutely dreadful stuff for him. He's having a mare and he hasn't even realised it.
Well, in my research earlier on, what I did find was that the courts adverts in the later 90s were starring Bruce Forsyth, who is dead.
Yes, sadly so. R.I.P. Sir Bruce.
Yes, indeed. But yeah, which I'd forgotten. No.
Well, that's a somber note to wrap up the podcast on. So
make a happy statement.
I can't just do that on demand. I'm not a performing monkey.
Well, there must be something cheery we can talk about.
And that's been the Score to Follow podcast. See you all again soon.